Hi, everyone. We hope that you're having a good first flight so far. This presentation is presented by the Career Center Internship Specialists. And so we're going to be discussing some things related to internships today. So thank you all for coming. So without further ado, we're going to have our speakers today go ahead and introduce themselves. My name is Caroline Fry, and I'm an internship specialist at the Career Center.
And I'm Corey Davidson. I'm an specialist as well. I work specifically with our School of Journalism and College of Science students.
And I'm Aaron Anderson. I'm also an internship specialist, and I work with the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, the College of Education, and the College of Health and Public Service.
And my designated colleges that I work with are visual arts and design, music, engineering, information, and merchandising, hospitality, and tourism. We also have our internship specialists within the College of Business, and so all business majors are routed to them. But for today's session, it's going to be the three of us. So we have designed our presentation according to some common questions that get asked of us about internships. And so if we could go ahead to the next slide, just to view those questions. Awesome. Some of the questions that we get relating to internships, especially for this population, since you're all freshmen, is, I keep hearing that I should have an internship. Why should I be worrying about that now as a freshman? And why is it to my benefit? And then second, we're going to talk about how you can turn some part-time jobs or even on-campus jobs into an internship that are related to your major and your field of interest. And then lastly, we're going to discuss some ways that you can explain those skills later on for the future for other work experiences as well. So let's go ahead and start off with our first question. So let's start off by talking about why it's good for you to start thinking about internships now, sooner rather than later. So first off, internships are a wonderful way for you to test drive a certain career path. You may have some ideas about potential career paths in the future, and having an internship is a way for you to actually test drive what it is that that profession would look like in action if you were to sort of be in that job in the future. It's a really great way for you to be in that kind of a career, to see what is it like, what kind of job and tasks are you doing in that kind of position, so that you can sort of test what it is that that would actually look like if you were to be in that kind of job later on. Having the experience of an internship can also help you to get a clear picture of your interests and define your goals better for what you want in a career or a job later on. So you may have a good idea of what kind of job you want to do with your degree after graduation, and it's good to test that idea out to see how you like it before you even graduate. Having an internship can reconfirm your ideas about what kind of areas you're interested in and help expose you to maybe some other areas that you didn't already know that you were interested in before. So in that case, you can come back from the internship and maybe take some new classes or steer your major according to those newfound interests that you discovered in your internship. If you do have an internship and discover that you actually aren't as interested in that field as you might have originally thought, it's such a good thing that you figured that out early on now before you even graduated, in case you want to make some decisions differently now that you know that with your major or with any classes. Another reason why you may want to start thinking about fitting an internship into your college plan now is that it's good for you to be thinking long-term about getting a job after you graduate. So time and time again, one of the top things that employers look for in candidates applying for full-time jobs is having previous experience. Internships are a key way for you to get experience while you're still in school. So having an internship will definitely make you a more competitive candidate later on when you are applying for your first job after you graduate. Sort of an extra perk is that many times students who have had a positive experience at an internship actually manage to turn that same internship into a full-time job offer when they earn their degree. So when the experience goes really well, an employer that sees that you're a great fit for the job, they've seen you work and they just love you, they'll go ahead and offer you to keep you on full time sometimes. So that's also a really great perk of internships. So just to sort of recap what we've discussed so far, thinking about plans to have an internship can help you to clarify your interests and career path options, and they can also help you to make decisions while you're in your classes here at UNT. And then also just remember to think long term and big picture. Internships are huge selling points for employers later on once you start looking for jobs after you graduate. And it's a really awesome experience for you to have while you stay here as a student at UNT.
So for some of you folks that might already have, be looking or already have a position lined up on campus, we wanted to make you aware of another program as well, and that is our Skill Internship program. And what we look at with these positions are that it's an opportunity for a high impact program designed to contribute to your learning experience while you're here at UNT. So a lot of the same perks that you might be looking for in finding an internship later on in your degree plan could also be applied a little bit earlier on with the position on campus. And so with these positions, when we're working with departments to develop these positions, what we're looking at is focusing on learning outcomes. So not just necessarily, running errands for an office or answering the phone, but in addition to maybe some of those duties, also really focusing on what you will get out of this experience. So these positions that we're building out are going to be very project oriented, and in some case might allow you an opportunity to lead a project. So a lot of like relevant skills that can be added to your resume as you move down the line. So just like other internships, this is going to improve your career readiness as well, because anytime you're gaining experience and giving yourself a competitive advantage over your other classmates, it's only going to serve to make the job prospects even better for you when you graduate. So what you will see with these positions as well is an increase in the amount of responsibility that you're given in an Eagle internship role versus just a traditional student employment role. And also some intentional supervision and more of a mentor relationship with your supervisor than what you would see with the typical student employment positions, to again sort of foster all of those learning outcomes and the experiential piece of it. So just really trying to build that out beyond just a basic on campus job. So we're developing these positions all across campus for students of all different majors. But just to give you sort of a broad range of what some of the positions might be like, they could easily be a graphic design intern or a marketing and media intern. So maybe something where if you're a marketing major or a communications major or a journalism or media arts, anything along those lines, you might be able to gain some experience without having to travel away from campus that's going to be relevant to you down the line. Career advisor interns. So we have a lot of students that work for our office that function in a career ambassador role, to where they're actually getting a chance to review students' resumes and talk to them about what some typical interviewing skills might be, or what to add to their cover letter. Business process improvement intern, patent law intern, nonprofit liaison. So we've got a lot of different nonprofit programs on campus. Information security. There's a lot that you can do if you're a computer science major or an IT major, business analytics, things like that, that are going to be able to be applied to positions on campus. Digital humanities interns. So again, all walks of life, all majors, doesn't really matter what major you're going into, there's likely going to be an opportunity to develop something on campus to get you some initial experience.
All right, so the whole long-term goal of internships and on-campus jobs for students is to create a resume that will help them land the job they want once they get out of college. So one of the questions we get asked a lot is, how do you skills that you've developed during your internship And that could be your internship, or it could also work for any student employment that you've done on campus as well, because a lot of times those jobs will have directly transferable skills that will play really well when you're a candidate for a professional opportunity. So one of the things that we like to urge students to do is to keep a list of all the job duties or tasks that you've performed at every job that you get while you're in college. If you can go back to high school and any student employment or even some volunteer work that you've done, if you can keep a specific list of the tasks that you performed, make sure to especially note any new duties that you were assigned or any trainings that you attended. Also, certifications, professional certifications that you might have earned, those will probably come more in internship experience than in a student employment position, specifically certifications, but please definitely go through trainings as well. So we're going to kind of keep all of this information in a spreadsheet or a Word document. If you have any quantitative data that deals with numbers, like if you were doing customer service, number of individuals that you assisted every day, or if you were in charge of tracking a budget, the amount of budget that you had. Say you were a treasurer for a student organization and you were, in charge of all of the funds that they earned while fundraising. You'd want to know the specific dollar amount because those are things that are going to be impressive to employees. On those list of job duties and any new skills that you developed in those jobs, those are going to be you're creating a resume or a cover letter in just a slide or two also during resumes. Another thing to keep a list of is any special projects that you led or managed, any initiatives that a supervisor asked you to take. Say, a supervisor noticed that there was a specific service lacking or that there was a new project that they wanted you to take over. Anything that you explicitly led or specifically led for the organization. Those are going to be good things to mention later on as well. You're also going to want to keep notes on the names of any, or keep notes on any collaborations you did with other departments. So say you're a student employee at UNT and your boss asks you to collaborate with a student employee or even a full-time employee from another department. Those are going to be important things to have notes of. And the reason we suggest you do it in real time is that it's so much easier to go back and consult a list rather than to sit there at the end of your 4 years at UNT and try to remember everything you did at every job. If you make it while it's fresh in your mind, you'll get more detailed information and it'll be more helpful for you when you go out on the job market. So you'll also want to keep contact info on any of your collaborative partners, anybody that you worked in a group experience with, because those are people that you could potentially use as references down the line, especially if it's a situation where you were and you worked very closely with a full-time employee or a supervisor on a specific project. If you keep that person's name and contact info, you as a reference, they can be somebody who can verify that you have the skills required to be successful in and also document the results of any collaborations or projects. If you were given a project, say you were a graphic design intern and you were asked to redesign a guide for a certain company, you would want to specifically have what your instructions were, have what the parameters of the projects were, and then what the result of it was. Did that ultimately get adopted by that company and now be their style guide moving forward that they use to kind of determine how their communication is going to look, or was it even more successful? Did other people try to use it? So basically it's really like any successes that you have in projects or collaborations, you want to keep a list of those. All right. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you can use those lists that you're going to make. We would never tell you to do anything like that if it wasn't going to be helpful for you. So one of the most popular appointments that we have at the Career Centers, we see students who need help with their resume. And this can be, this is really a pivotal part of your job search because any job that you get, there's going to be skills that will play professional experiences. We saw an example where an individual who was a hiring manager for the US government broke down the specific parts of being a pizza delivery driver that somebody might just put was a driver for Domino's for 6 months on their resume, without really talking about all the specific things that they did. Customer service, you handle some small time logistics there. There's conflict resolution, there's critical thinking, there's problem solving. These are all soft skills that employers are looking for. So the list that you've created is going to be a list of all the job duties that you've done in your life, so that when and you look at those job descriptions, instead of trying to figure out how what you've done applies to that, you just go and cross-reference the job descriptions with the list of skills from your various jobs. So anytime that you see something that matches up, if they want time management and you know that you had to do this for your first job on campus, you can go ahead and put that on your resume. That way, when they're looking at your resume with in mind, they're seeing that there's overlapping skills. A lot of companies will use something called like an applicant tracking system, where they will actually have a computer scan your resume looking for specific words. And those usually come from the job descriptions, the skill sets that they want. So if you can make sure that you have a comprehensive record of all of the things that you've done at or jobs, and then make sure to add them into your resume to match the job descriptions that you're looking for, you'll have a better chance of getting through that pile and into the interview stage. You specifically list the job duties and any quantitative data, again, like the number of customers you served, any dollar amount if you were doing fundraising. Those would all be in the cover in the resume, and in the cover letter you'll have opportunities to sort of discuss those projects a little bit more. You can have a very strong introduction telling the hiring manager, the supervisor, why you think you're a good fit for that position. And then as you get into the body of your cover letter, you have an opportunity where if you did a really impressive project that played right into what they're looking for in a potential employee, you can discuss that at a little bit more length in your cover letter. Another important thing to do would be to add those skills to your LinkedIn page, especially if you did any trainings. A lot of companies will do trainings now through LinkedIn Learning, so you can add those to your page as well, or any other sort of important training that you've done. Any certifications, professional certifications that you've earned, you can add those to your LinkedIn page as well. I know a lot of people are getting to the point now, specifically marketing and copywriting game, we're getting into a situation where their LinkedIn pages sort of take the place of their resume. So people find them that way. They find what they've been, they find what they've been involved in, what they've been certified in, what kind of skills they've been endorsed for, and they find their candidates that way. So if you get a really strong LinkedIn page, it can almost be a situation where recruiters will locate you based on the strength of your LinkedIn page and reach out to you, so you don't have to chase them as much. So add those relevant skills, the professional skills and certifications to your LinkedIn page. And then remember, we told you to keep a list of, collaborators or people that you've worked with on projects. You can always reach out to those people on LinkedIn and ask them for endorsement on your LinkedIn page. So people can just sit there and they see you say everything that you can do. And then there's a section below that where everybody that you've worked with can endorse you and say, yes, so-and-so has this skill. And then they can either just endorse you for it blanket style, where it's just like a check or a badge on there, or they can actually go in and write a specific piece speaking to your acumen or your ability in those areas. So those lists that you make now as you're having jobs, they become really important as you get into the and the LinkedIn portion of your job search. And the last part of it is where you're all trying to get, or where everybody's trying to get when they're out on the job market, is to the interview stage. So your resume is kind of like, an extension of your business card. It's, hey, I want to be considered for this job. Here are my skills. Your cover letter is a way to kind of introduce you a little bit more fully. It allows you to elaborate on some of the stronger skills in your resume. And then your interview is your opportunity to really get to know that person and prove to them that your experience as an intern or a student employee makes you a really strong candidate for those jobs. So this is your big to impress. Um, I would always suggest to review your list of professional skills, your job duties, your special projects or collaborations prior to your interview. And I would do that with the job description in mind. You're going to want to do on the job description and the company so you know exactly how your skills fit into that organization. You're going to want to consciously think about how your past experience pertain to the job that you're trying to get. It's not just enough to be qualified. You've got to do some homework on the company that you're looking for and have a concept already when you walk in the door of how you fit there. You're going to want to be ready to cite that positive quantitative data or the project outcomes that enhance your candidacy. So again, the reason you're keeping track of all of this information is so that when you get into an internship or an interview scenario, they're going to ask you questions like, have you ever led a project before? Or were you ever involved in a collaboration? And what was the result of that collaboration? So if you've been keeping that list your entire college career and reviewing it while you're making your resumes, while you're writing your cover letters, and then while you're doing the research on the company that you're interviewing with, it's going to take a lot of the nerves and the interview process because you're already going to be prepared. You're already going to have the that is a huge step. And then you're always going to want to emphasize your ability to learn or adapt. A lot of people will see job descriptions and they'll say, they'll see something on the job description that they haven't done before, or they don't have experience for. And so they feel like that eliminates them. But what companies are looking for just as much as skill sets are individuals that they want to be part of their organizational culture. So if they find somebody that maybe checks 6 out of 10 boxes in terms of the skills that they're looking for in an employee, but they seem like a really pleasant professional person that would be a good work partner, and they've shown a history of being able to learn new skills, go through trainings, acquire certifications, anything like that in their previous jobs or work experiences or internships, then they know that that person can be taught and that person can learn. And every organization or business is going to have a specific way things done. So just by showing that you're able to adapt and solve problems and learn can accomplish a lot in terms of an interview and making companies comfortable with extending you that offer, knowing that maybe you don't have every little duty that they want or job skill that they want, but that you've got a proven history of having learned, a proven history of having worked in team scenarios or collaborated, and have been willing to take on projects in the past. So if you keep and maintain that list and really think critically about what those job duties for the organization you were working or interning for, and kind of have an idea of the contributions you've made past places of employment, you're going to be able to transfer that really well to the resume and to the cover letter. And then by that point, when you get to the interview portion of it, you'll just be really comfortable talking about yourself and your skill set in those terms because you've been kind of chronicling your work journey since the day you got on campus.